to share this with you, but around here everything is fine. We passed through a hot days, really hot days. It came a slowly rain, and we are facing a beautiful rain season now. So everything is fine.
Thank you so much for sharing because none of what we think that, so to speak, we are initiating or we come across is ours. This is what happens now in the world, and it's like being shared. So you say that you saw this 1 minute from the text of the guide or the leader, or that he was sharing this text, and this is what is happening in the world. So it's funny because people always claim for copyright. So of course there isn't such a copyright, because when something is coming, it comes evenly, and it is evenly spread between us, because there's only one thing. There's oneness. It cannot be that someone has and someone has not. Quite interesting. I noticed this kind of streaming, because how can you sing something crosses you or moves in you, and then you see the text? How can it be? So it's not that before and after, it's one thing. So it's happens very often. Yanis, good evening. If you have questions, Fernando, about reading, Yanis, about any idea that is coming through you, please go ahead and ask.
If you could say some words about the New Year of the trees, what do you think about it,
Yeah.
or how you approached it?
This is very, very simple. I mean, it happened today. Yes, that there was a storm. We did not plan anything. Today is Tu B'Shvat, so to speak. This is a celebration for the trees. And during the occurring of the day, we went to be next to eucalyptus tree. We did not plan; it just happened. And there was a storm at night, and the storm shook the tree, and the tree gave away its branches and its seeds, and they were like lying next to the tree, and we were there to pass by chance, and I collected the branches and the new seeds of the tree, and I have never seen such a green leaf of eucalyptus, because it was drinking the water of the storms. We had storms like 1 week or so, and I brought those branches home, and I put the seeds inside. I mean, there's like a vase from glass, and I just clean it up and put the new branches and the new seeds, and now it is like, so to speak, like a Zen garden, but we did not plan anything, or just happened. So it is beautiful to see, because usually in the summer you see the trees, the eucalyptus, they stand in the heat. They have the ability to absorb a lot of heat, and to also, from the other hand, to absorb a lot of water. And I have never seen the seed of the eucalyptus tree in such a, how do you say, size. It was very huge. I can take a photo later and send it. Very, very huge and green. It's not yet dry and little after it crosses usually the whole summer. So it was like nice happening, which we did not plan. And this is what happened, yes, today. But there is also a traditional relation. This is just to, how do you say, to wake up people from the sleepiness of winter, because slowly the light hours are getting longer, and most of the rains already, let's say, have been given. So there's like a little window for the coming spring. So there is a special attention for the trees, for the fruit, for the nature. This is the general vibe or mode of Tu B'Shvat, the celebration for the trees, for nature, flowers. There's all the time, how do you say, renewal. Nothing is lost, nothing is gone. Though for a while it seems to us that if we don't see a manifestation, it does not exist. But it's not that. So this is a beautiful holiday for the trees. Very modest. Good morning, Rodrigo. If you have any questions, you're most welcome to ask or to share something that happened this week. It is interesting because Fernando was mentioning at the beginning the Wu Wei. How do you say this? Wu Wei, Fernando? How to say this name even? Yes, his name is like James or Terence James Gray, but he wrote his books under a surname, not surname, but a pseudonym, like. And I'm reading a few of them at the same time or parallel to each other, and this is amazing writing. I've never seen such writing before in this way. I shared few pages of the Open Secret, one of his books, and I shared another page, and it's beautiful, beautiful. It just breaks your head to read it in the beginning because it contradicts and negates everything, every paradigm that we have about life, about individuality, about what life is about or how life is happening. So slowly, sentence by sentence, he breaks this, what we take as we think that we know or we capture life, he breaks it, and then it brings it back. Beautiful. Yanis, any question? We don't have private lives. We don't have private thoughts. Sometimes what happens is that we lure to think that we are the thinkers of the thought. There's just thinking happening. Thinking is happening through us, all of us, all the time. But there is no personal thinker. There is no thinker. Yes, there is no thinker. There is no doer. In a way, there is singing, but there is no singer. Yes, there is poetry, but there's no poet. Yes, it's quite interesting because what we tend to meet here every day is people with copyrights. Yes, people draw a flower, they demand a copyright, they write few lines, they say, "This is I am the writer," and so on and so on. But the more we read or following this, let's say, observation, we notice that we are not the doers. It is life which is happening through us or occurring through us. If you will be asked to describe a picture, let's say all of us are walking and we look into a coffee house, and I will ask you to describe what you see. You will say there is a man which is drinking coffee or holding a cup in his hand. But there is no separation between the drinking and the man. Usually we say in English, coffee drinker, white drinker, because we attach the thought, attach the happening, so to speak, with the figurine that it is happening. But it's not like it. There is drinking. There is eating. we tend to focus our frame on one person. Basically, one person is me, and how much a person eats, how much he drinks, how much he runs, yes, and so on and so on. But it is not so at all. There is drinking, there is eating, there is breathing. We are in a way dividing. We are dividing, so to speak, the scenery, and we say he's a drinker, he's a runner, he's a singer, he's a writer, and so on. Yes, Rodrigo? This personal, yes, consciousness that we have today is very much associated with our body, which is the physical limit of our persona. Yes, I ask, in the world to come, Olam Haba, how does this personal, yes, how does this personal consciousness work? Does it disappear? Does the consciousness of an I end? Yeah, Olam Haba, in a way, the coming world is to accept that there is no persona. Yes, of course, when we receive, let's say, letters in the mailbox, there is a name, there's an address, and we shall open this box with a key and take the mail. Yes, for the system. But the world to come is this acceptance inside that we are not. Oh, what is Olam Haba? Olam Haba is a term in Hebrew which means Olam is world, Haba, which is coming that we are experiencing in the moment. It's not a future world after life. Usually people translate the term of afterlife. Yes, but it's not the world which is after life. It is the world which is happening, which is coming, like every breath, which is coming to us. Yes, we don't do special effort in breathing. It just breath is coming to us. Yes. In the same manner, Olam Haba, the world which is coming. So what is the great premise about Olam Haba? It's not afterlife, like people think. It's to accept that nothing which is happening here is due to the copyright of someone. Nothing which is happening is a consequence of individual doer, because there isn't. There isn't. We are being animated with breath of life. We're drinking water. But it is quite stupid to take copyright about the fact that let's say someone is sitting on a chair. It will be stupid to think that I am, so to speak, the one who is sitting. Yes, because we don't have any ownership. There is a sitting. There is a sitting, there is standing, there is running. Yes. What happens is that the brain, which is part of the body, it's a bodily part, claims ownership on the actions. How does this happen? I am the runner. Not that there is running and people are running at the show. I am the runner. I am the producer. And so I am the singer. I am a fashion designer. Not that design and, let's say, drawing happens through, just comes through us. No, I am a fashion designer. I am a hair style, and this is how it goes. This is the kingdom of prison. This is the kingdom of jail. Yes, the kingdom of how to lock us up. Yes, in paradigm, because What happens if someone believes that he is a hairdresser? What happens if one day something happened and he cannot attend this barber shop? So he is not hairdresser anymore or any longer. What is he? Does he have the right to live after his occupation is being taken from him? This is what happens to people. They declare or they announce, yes, about of themselves as such and such, and suddenly something happens and changes in life, and suddenly they're not school manager anymore, yes, and suddenly something happens and they're not the teacher in this class in university. So what happens to them? The world which is coming, it's not afterlife. There is not uh, a concept of afterlife. This is how people mistakenly translate the term. But olam haba is what? How do you say in English? Impersonal consciousness. Is it good English? Impersonal? Impersonal. Impersonal consciousness. Olam haba, or the eighth day. Yanis was asking about eighth day, about Hanukkah. Yes, the eighth day, Olam haba, because this world in space and time is defined by 7. Olam haba, the world to come, or the world which is coming, is a world in which there is impersonal, not personal, yes? Impersonal consciousness. Is it understood or not? Is it understood? Not really. Fernando, can you explain it? Rodrigo, can you explain it? What is personal and what is impersonal? Just the English without now the concept. What is personal and what is non-personal? What is personal and what is impersonal? Yes, Fernando.
It is just, I will try to add some ideas to the conversation. We have different approaches to speak about this because we are speaking about something that is not tangible. So language sometimes this is difficulty to find this field of communication. Since I come from this background, from this Jungian background, Jung claims that we have like a collective unconscious. And what is this after all, collective unconscious? What does it mean? That it is difficult to explain, right? But how we are all connected.
Mhm.
In fact, many times, the most common thing is people being like victim archetypes of standards that we can find in this in this collective unconscious. People tends to think that they are doing the thing. Let's say a quite brilliant surgeon claims that he is the one who is the brilliant surgeon. I am the best surgeon in the world. I don't know anything, do
Mhm.
anything. In fact, alongside in history, we could see this history of the brilliant surgeon many, many, many times. And usually they have a, I'm just constructing example. So he can be brilliant in the professional side, but in his family, he lacks with his wife or with his children. He's not so good at home. He can have an affair with this or that. This whole story that for this surgeon be like a quiet individual, I am the one who made this the history of the humanity. If you look at the frame, if you look at the structure, let's say he is just a victim of something, of a manifestation. He is not aware. And this happens to the lawyer. Fashions, it's easy to see this happening. We all can think about the image of a judge or of a lawyer or a nurse. People get too attached to the role, doesn't see that this role is collective. It is not something so personal as one can to think. It's to think. Don't know if I made myself clear.
Yes, yes, you did. Yes, you did. In the world of separation, thank you so much. We perceive, let's say, our life as separated life. There's someone lives in Mexico, there's another one lives in Taiwan, there's another live in Pennsylvania, and all of them they have separated different life. But it's not so. But this is how people think. That I live in Pennsylvania and I have nothing to do with the one who lives in Japan or so. This kind of thinking that most of the people walk with this conversation in their mind or in their brain is a consequence of seeing themselves as separated living people. And also, sometimes or very often, they tend to think about themselves as victims. The victim mentality. They did to me, ta 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 ta, it happens to me. I am the only one who was left wet in the rain, and so I'm the only one that was left in the bus, and the driver closed the bus on me, and so this is just an example. Things are only happening to me. In this just little example, this is how people see themselves, that and the world is all the time against them and they are the losers, because there's like separation, the world and me. I think about the world X and the world is Y, and there's a difference, and so on. So it doesn't matter what kind of examples we give, like this surgeon that is associated, is very attached to his occupation, and suddenly there isn't because they closed the hospital down. Now what he shall do? This is what defines me. Yeah. So those are examples for the life in the 7 days in space and time. There's history, there's a story, there's a figure, there's a name, there's occupation. He's a great doctor, heart surgeon, or so. And most of the people, we have 8 billion, let's say at the moment, a bit more, perceive themselves as such, as a fruit of the culture. They will tell you, this is my identity, I was born here. This is my language. This is my city, this is my town, my family. They give you survey of the house. But it is not so. Yes, yes, I'm just speaking about that. the understanding or it's not to understand the world to come, is to accept. What does it mean to accept the world to come? Or the world of the Messiah? Everybody is a savior. There is no savior. Yes? What does it mean to accept? To accept the world to come, or to accept the world which is coming every moment. To accept that we are not separated stories. We are not separated persona. Nothing happens specifically against me or pro me. This is when people accept that nothing happens specifically to me. I'm, let's say, one who is one amongst 8 billion. So it cannot be that something happens specifically against or pro me. It cannot be. Those 8 billion people are inhaling air and drinking water and walking and live life, or life is being lived through them. So, and this is the great thing, to accept or accepting that life is not a personal, yes, experience. We can bring things are happening and we have snap shots of what is happening in the moment, like the tree, or like this text of the teacher that Fernando shared today. But what is the world to come is to accept. Do we simply, it's just to accept in the heart. It's not in so much accept in the intellectual realm. To accept in the heart that we are not separated. To accept this mere fact. Hello, Okbai. We are not separated. And what happens is not, whatever happens in the moment is not pro me and not against me. What happens, happens. There is a verse, Hatsur Tamim Poalo. Hatsur was one of the names, yes, for the source. Hatsur Tamim Poalo. Hatsur, whatever happens, innocent. Everything which is happening in the moment. When we accept this in the heart, it is, we are living in the world to come, or the world which is coming, because the acceptance does one thing. In a way, disconnects us from the story about myself. When we accept that everything happens to all living beings, animals, nature, at the same time, innocently. So there is no private me. There is no victim mentality, which is a product of me. There is no past, which is creating the sense of a story or history or character or persona. And of course, the future is not interested because we're not living in the future. So, what is Haulam Haba? Accepting in the heart that whatever happens is innocently happening in the moment. This is it. This is the 8th day. Not in the term of after. How this is possible? Well, Fernando, how this is possible? Would you like to share with us how this is possible? How can we accept in the heart that everything that happens innocently at the moment? This is not intellectual understanding. This is accepted the heart. When we accept in the heart that whatever happens innocently, it is considered like someone lives in the world to come, because all others are living the life of the separation, of the me story. Victim of such and such event, victim of earthquake, it only happens to me. Victim of tsunami, it only happened to me. Tsunami is one of the phenomenon of nature. It doesn't specifically happen to A, B, C, D. Earthquake as well. It's just something that happens in nature. If we accept that, it's not that the earth is shaking specifically against me. In 5 or 6 or in 5 or I don't know how much they have Richter scale. There is an earthquake and it happens against me specifically. Yes. This is what people usually think, that God is wanting to punish them. Yes. Therefore, there is earthquake. Therefore, there is drought. Yes. Because people assume what? Cause and effect, a duration in time. But there isn't any. To accept this innocently in the heart, it means that the one who is accepting it, that there is no cause and no effect, there is no sinner, and there is no loser. So the one who accepts it in the heart lives in the world to come, or in the 8th day. What happens when there's like nature catastrophes like flood or fire? Let's say, what happens? Usually are people what? What happens when there's a flood or there's a great fire like in Los Angeles? What people are doing usually when those things are happening, or there's a war? What happens? What do they tend to do? What? What people tend to do? To find someone guilty, to accuse someone. They look for a head, for a direction, for an address that they could pin the catastrophe on his shoulder. Is the municipality that did not build the canals. It is the municipality of Los Angeles that did not cut the dry trees and leaves they wanted to save. When you browse, yes, things are happening. Tsunami is happening. Tsunami is not a current which is happening because somebody clicked a button. Yes, in an airport, hidden airport, it happens. And to accept that those things are happening, in spite of what, so to speak, the camera shows how people are losing their houses in the flood, or in the fire, life are being lost in the water. Historically, yes, when a disaster happened, ancient society used to take away the king. Yes, they had to change heads. Yes, yes. To accept that things are happening. Because what happens? What happens to the one who is accusing someone? What happens? What is the inner mechanics that happens inside of one person's head when he accuses the other? Whether they replace the king or not, what happens? What is the mechanics behind it innerly? I know better. I know better. Therefore, this one is guilty or accused and we need to replace. I know better. I'm not. And what does it mean that I know better? If you take it even backwards, I mean to the source, what does it mean that I know better? I am outside of the world. I'm judging the world. I'm outside of it. There are two me and the world. I'm not part of the world. There was earthquake here. There was serious hard earthquake recently, and this is something that this and you walk in the middle of the night. You leave the house. They say not to use elevators, so you leave the house with a bottle of water and not to be next to buildings, and so you walk 3 kilometers in the dark, and suddenly you take into consideration that all of those things that you consider house surrounding will be wiped, and suddenly there isn't. But to accuse someone of earthquake, it is it was so strong, the earthquake, that it happened. I was holding the kitchen marble or the cabinet, so to speak, to find a stable point, and everything was moving. The kitchen cabinet, it's something that is hard to imagine. It just, and then I just rolled on the floor like a fetus because there was just acquitted on the floor as a fetus. Whatever happens, happens. Whom can you accuse in earthquake? We are the earthquake. It's not that the earthquake is happened to me specifically. Millions of people experience earthquake every day, few times a day, in the shower, on the road, wherever. Whom can you accuse? So, what does it mean to live in the world to come? To accept. This is very simple. Yes, but difficult to attain. Not to attain, but to accept. To accept in simplicity that whatever happens, happens in the moment, innocently, with no intention. Nobody has a bad intention or other intention. Nothing happens specifically against me, whoever he is, she, and nothing happens specifically pro me. This is just life. And there's a great relief in it because there is no definition. I'm not let's say, heart surgeon anymore in this. There is no, let's say, doer, teacher, lawyer. Those definitions are happening here to box people, so to speak, to make order. But the world which is coming does not have those boxes of definitions. People usually define themselves according to their names, addresses, what is written in the idea, meaning they look in the mirror, they tend to relate to the image in the mirror as a real thing, as a real me, but it is not. While we're speaking, yes, we are breathing. There's air change all the time. How can we claim that we are the same? Every single second, a new air is coming to the system. There's so many happenings in one, so to speak, human body, exchanges of things. Once we drink water, once we eat an apple, everything is changing all the time. The thoughts, how can we claim inside that there is a me there? How? As long as we think that, let's say, Rodrigo, Ogbailo, Giannis, Fernando is me, yes, with a name, taka taka taka. This is a jailer. This is a jailing thought. And the brain will always lure us up to believe, to accept that we are those who are having name, addresses, images in the mirrors. But it is not so. It is simply not so. People usually go to court, they accuse each other, he did to me this, he did to me that, and so on. But nobody is capable of doing anything. We tend to believe that the thinking is ours. And if somebody, let's say, a thought is crossing through the mind, and at the moment of crossing, we tend to believe that this is my thought, and so on. And sometimes we act according to the thought, and we are the doers, but it is not so. Because we are incapable of doing anything. Hatsu, the source. Tamim Poalo, the source is innocently acting through us, but it is innocently acting, not pro and not against. Therefore, we cannot love and we cannot hate. We cannot cry and we cannot laugh. And to accept it, even by hearing, even for a split of a second, that we are not the doer, we are not the fathers, not the mothers, not the daughters, children, we are not, all of this we're not. It's a great relief from false burden, because all of those relations as children of parents of all of those chains, yes, they're not existing. Because people think, as a father, I should. Once we say I should, this is the end, because then comes must, and then comes gravity, and the speech of the soul is quite different, because the soul is always suggesting maybe to take an umbrella. The soul never speaks should, could, never in this gravity mode. Yes, 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 yes. This is the stream that comes from the soul. Yes. So what does it mean to live in the coming world? Not to have all of this attachment to persona, to a name, to address, to people. Suffering comes because people tend to attach themselves, yes, to things, to objects, certain people in high school somewhere. There is no need. There is no need. Freedom is freedom. There's movement all the time. There's a current of air. There's current or flow of water all the time. There's streaming all the time. It is quite simple to accept that whatever happens is happening in the moment, innocently. Innocently. And when this acceptness comes, there's space. There is relief from the burden, from the gravity, from you should, you must, and da, 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 da. Because in the world to come, or this acceptance does not say there is you, because there's always you is second person. So there is no you. Yes, there is no you. This is just a little connection. Zer Anpin Fernando is called Ata. You. Zer Anpin is called Ata. Yes. But the eighth sphere, yes, benign so is E. In a way, is hidden. Yes, there's no second person. So, what does it mean to live in the world to come? To accept that we are living in the hidden as well as in the manifestation. The manifestation will create a sense of story. But in the world to come, when we live, not after life, something that comes after the next corridor, to accept the innocent happening, it means we're living the life of a secret. This is a living secret. This is why James Gray named his book Open Secret. To be an open secret. This is it. Any questions? Thank you for participating, for being with us today, Fernando, Opai, Rodrigo, Luke, Yanis, and friends. Toda, shalom, and see you very soon on Saturday, the same time. Thank you so much. Toda and shalom.